Nestled in the far northwest of England, this is the Lake District. A land defined by its natural beauty. And known to millions who love the lakes was the late Alfred Wainwright, author, guide writer and talented artist. But above all, he was the greatest fell walker. Wainwright's guides have inspired generations of walkers to roam these glorious fells. And now, a century after his birth, it's my turn to go in search of the real Wainwright experience. I'm starting today's walk down there in the bustling tourist town of Keswick, in the heart of the Northern Lakes. It's the place where Wainwright famously enjoyed his favourite fish and chips. I'm heading over Derwent Water and up Catbells to discover why Wainwright thought that this was the perfect family fell, the perfect walk for grandparents and little uns alike. Keswick is a popular base for travelling across the Lake District, and so it's no surprise that it plays host to over 1 million visitors of all ages every year. Catbells is one of the most photographed viewpoints in the Lake District. Wainwright recommends that you sail across the lake here. He says that it makes the expedition rewarding out of all proportion to the small effort needed.
Even the name has a magic challenge.
With such popularity, Catbells is one fell where you're guaranteed the company of other walkers along the way, something that wouldn't have been to Wainwright's taste elsewhere in the lakes. That's the profile of Catbells, and Wainwright says in his opening page for this fell, words cannot adequately describe the rare charm of Catbells, nor its ravishing view, but no publicity is necessary. Its mere presence in the Derwent Water scene is enough.
It has a bold, come-hither look that compels one's steps, and no suitor ever returns disappointed. It is only to be seen from Friar's Crag, and a spell is cast. No Keswick holiday is consummated without a trip to Catbells.
I'm taking Wainwright's advice and travelling across the lake, but before I do, let's take a look at the route ahead. Taking the launch, I'll travel across Derwent Water, passing a number of small islands, each with their own histories and individual beauties. My walk begins at the lakeside jetty at Hawes End. The path here takes me through woodland before reaching the foot of Catbells. Here, the path splits in two, and I'll follow the route up the engineered zigzag path, up the north breast of the fell. The path is interrupted by a short scramble up a polished rock face, before reaching a stony plateau. From here, I'll walk along the top of the distinctive steady ridge, which gives Catbells its famous profile. It has three distinct impressions, before reaching a heavily eroded tower of rock, which takes me on a steep climb to reach the rugged and exposed summit. Frank Harrison, a local guide, has agreed to join me on my trip across Derwent Water. Now, Frank, you've been a guide in these parts for nearly 50 years. Things must have changed an awful lot in that time.
Well, I started in the 50s. There were no tracks as such today where they've deliberately gone out, the National Trust, and made paths. You made your own path. You found
as Wainwright did.
As Wainwright did. I was a guide at the time. 15 to 2,000 miles a year I walked. So I was...
You're giving me a run for the money.
Well, I would have done then.
Now here we are on the beautiful Derwent Water, and everything's working in our favour so far. The weather's good. So tell me some of the stories as we move through this stretch of water.
Well, through this stretch of water here comes to Friar's Crag. And Friar's Crag was regarded by Ruskin as the most beautiful view down the lake in the Lake District.
Now, two famous people, of course, from these parts, Beatrix Potter and Wordsworth. There's a nice Beatrix Potter story, isn't there, in connection with Catbells?
Well, Beatrix Potter, of course, Fore Park, which is over there. They came and stayed at Fore Park a number of times. And, of course, it has a walled garden. And the story of Peter Rabbit and the walled garden started over in that spot. When you climb Catbells and you look down, you will see Little Town, and Mrs. Tiggywinkle lived above Little Town.
This is Tiggywinkle.
That's what, yes. And at the island, which is Herbert's Island, that is also where Squirrel Nutkin used to go to collect the nuts. If you believe that, you believe anything. The Cumbrian Mountains are older than the Alps and older than the Himalayan mountain. Not only that, they were as high as the Alps, possibly to the height of Everest. So they have lost, if geologists are correct, they have lost up to 27,000 feet. And there's a book out already saying that they're still coming down, that eventually there will be no Lake District because they will level out and fill all the lakes.
Let's hope that's long,
well, it will be a long time.
Time.
Yeah, well, we won't be around when it happens, but that's what they claim is likely to happen. And if you consider that this is only 17 feet at the best, that's a very shallow lake. Anyway, there you have Castle Crag, looking down there.
Looking gorgeous. Now, Frank, that so far is one of my favourite walks, Castle Crag. It's a little gem, isn't it?
Yes, it is a very good one.
Catbells coming up behind us there. Described as a family walk. Would you agree with that?
Difficult, really. Although it is a family mountain, 1,500 feet just under, not too high, you've got to be careful where you put your feet on it. But they've made, again, vast differences over the last 30 years up there. I mean, from the day when you walked on Rock Ridge in order to get down, they've widened, they've moved stuff, and it's better for the family today than it was 30 to 40 years ago.
What else about Catbells do you think is so alluring to people?
Well, I think that A, it's close to Keswick. B, it is under 1,500 feet. C, you think that, as you said earlier, that it's just a family walk. But there's no question about there's a lot of rock there. When Wainwright, I come back to Wainwright, he didn't envisage that anyone would take any book and make it into, a directory for all the mountains.
Do you think he didn't? Do you really think he didn't? I think this is his legacy. I think he knew.
Well, the point is this. People do use the book without a map. Then they get stuck. If you are going to use Wainwright's book, you have got to use a map at the same time.
Take your OS map up with you as well.
You must take it, yes.
What advice do you have for me when I'm tackling Catbells?
Well, I think you should set yourself a pace that is the same pace when you're going up on the level and coming down.
Frank, thank you very much.
Pleasure is all
And I
mine.
know where to come if I need to know anything about the Lake District.
Well, I hope so. And I hope you enjoy the walk.
I certainly will. See you, Frank. Well, this is Hawes End, which is my stop, and through those trees should be the beginning of the walk. Now, the one thing that everybody seemed to know about Wainwright is that he liked to walk alone. He didn't like to be disturbed or approached on his walks. He wanted to focus all his energies on getting every detail to put into these. But Catbells was the one walk where he actively encouraged families to follow in his footsteps.
Catbells is one of the great favourites. A family fell where grandmothers and infants can climb the fell together. A place beloved.
Here there are two paths, both marked in the guide, but Wainwright says the zigzag route is exquisite, a much more enjoyable start to the ascent. So that's got to be the way. This specially laid out route is known as Woodford's Path, after its creator, Sir John Woodford. He was an Army Major General and veteran of Waterloo who had a summer home at Derwent Bay near the launch landing. He used his experience of digging trenches and making defences to engineer this impressive path, purely to use on excursions from his home. His efforts paid off. More than 130 years later, people are still enjoying it. Wainwright even went on to describe it as an enchanting stairway. There are so many ways to enjoy the Lakeland Fells. Some people aren't happy with views from the summits. It's not as easy as you might expect. And it's got a little bit windy. Despite being a family walk, Wainwright detailed the crags and caverns on this fell side, a reminder of centuries of mining and a warning to walkers.
This fell is not quite so innocuous as is usually thought, and grandmothers and infants should take care as they romp around.
Oh, it looks like a bit of a scramble up ahead. Time to get the hands dirty. The rock here has become really polished, actually. All the walkers over the years doing exactly what I'm doing And there's a plaque here, Thomas Arthur Leonard, father of the open-air movement. Leonard is known as the father of hiking, responsible for getting the Ramblers Association underway in 1891. He pioneered country holidays for families from the industrial centres of 19th century Britain. These were for families from similar backgrounds to Wainwright's own humble origins in Blackburn. And there is the first view of the summit. It's amazing that you can be so close to all the creature comforts of Keswick, and yet within about half an hour, you get to a viewpoint like this. In one direction, there are fine views across Derwent Water to Blencathra, or Saddleback as it's sometimes known. Standing behind Keswick is the giant peak of Skiddaw, and looking north towards Bassenthwaite Lake, the valley looks straight down to the Solway Firth and the Scottish hills beyond. The name Catbells has got people divided, but Wainwright commits to his view here. He says it might well be a corruption of Catbells, that means shelter, the shelter of the wild cat, although this has been disputed by authorities of repute.
Scenes of great beauty unfold on all sides, and they're scenes in depth to a degree not usual. On this side, the hamlet of Littletown is well seen down below, a charming picture. But it is to Derwent Water and Mid-Borrowdale that the captivated gaze returns again and again.
It's a bit steep here, and it's a bit disconcerting that you lose the summit behind this outcrop. This area was once home to a booming mining industry. Today, almost all mining has ceased, but its legacy is still visible on the landscape. Hi, Ian.
Hi, you all right?
Hello, good to see you.
Ian Tyler is the curator of Keswick's Mining Museum and is here to tell me a bit more about the history that lies beneath the fells. It's a history that dates back to the 16th century and this very fell when Queen Elizabeth imported her miners from Germany.
This is where the Germans actually started to mine in Cumbria. The reason why they were here was because of Queen Elizabeth. She desperately needed copper, she desperately needed lead, and the Germans had the expertise. They were the finest. They were about 150 years ahead of us, and they had the ability to not only dig and prospect, they also had the ability to smelt the ore. Anybody can dig things out of the ground, but then you've got to be able to smelt it. And they built, in fact, the biggest smelt mill in Europe, just over in Keswick at Brigham.
Wainwright has made quite a few references, of course, to the mining history of Cumbria. Now, this is a relatively small fell compared to most, but there are many mines under here, along here, aren't there?
There certainly are. There's about 4 different veins actually coursing through the fell. But lower down here we've got Old Brandley, and then further on we've got Brandle Howe. But the biggest mine on the fell, right under the summit of Catbells, is Youthwaite Mine, which is round about 1,000 feet in vertical height.
So when we go up to the summit, there's 1,000 feet underneath. There's a mine shaft.
Hole, a great big gash, wider than this and much deeper.
There are some villages in existence that wouldn't be here if it wasn't for mining.
Absolutely. Right throughout the Lake District, you've got Coniston, which was one of the first haunts of the German miners. They were there for 50 years and set up an incredible industry. And of course that brought people in, because of course the farmers have got to come in to feed the people. You've got Colbeck likewise in the northern fells, Threlkeld, and indeed Keswick itself.
Because when you walk across the fells, I mean, you see hints of the mining industry that was, but you'd never know that it was so prolific.
Absolutely. I mean, we mine 20 different commercial minerals here, and through 400 years we created and dug out these minerals, created fabulous wealth and employment. In 1900, half the male population was working in mining.
That's incredible, isn't it?
It is. Well, it just so happens I have a very good sample of what was here, and it was lead.
You carried lead in your backpack, Ian?
Yeah, just specially for you.
Blimey, well, I have to say thank you, because the one thing I do know is it's going to be heavy.
There we are. This is the lead here.
Whoa!
Lead was used for, well, many different things. Windows, church roofs, lead piping, but most important of all probably, musket balls and bullets.
How much lead was mined?
Well, literally thousands of tons, probably around about 50 to 70,000 tons in the 1850s. Now within the lead there was silver, and the silver belonged to Queen Elizabeth I. And all the silver went down to the Royal Mint.
I'm going to let you hold that.
Oh, thank you.
Because it's heavy.
And the silver went down to the Royal Mint and was turned into coin.
Another valuable mineral, copper.
Absolutely. And that is really why the German miners were here. This is the copper that the Germans came to mine. It just looks like gold.
It does, doesn't it?
Sadly, it isn't. And what we're going to do with it was to de-silver our coinage. Queen Elizabeth desperately needed more money. And the problem was that our little rogues and vagabonds were nicking, literally, our silver coinage. They were clipping it, so it was getting smaller and smaller. The idea was to take some copper, 15%, put it in the coinage, and that would then give her the 10 or the 15% silver back into the coffers, and that would then go into armaments and defence of the realm. So it was very, very important.
She could recoup her losses. Ian, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I keep that as a memento?
Sure, of course you can.
Oh, thank you very much. It's beautiful.
Nowhere in the whole of the lakes is there a better example of how the old industry of mining has been replaced by the new industry of tourism. Where once we'd have been looking at the filthy miners trudging their way up to the various shafts and workings, we now see similar hordes of people walking the fells for fun.
No wonder the paths and the stones are so worn. Catbells has been witness to the full onslaught of Lake District industry for centuries.
Silence is always more profound in places where there was once noise.
Oh, look. Now, you see, for some reason, when you're up on the top of this fell, you don't expect to see the sheep. But there they are. It just doesn't seem wild enough for them. I'll follow them. The path along this ridge is straight and uncomplicated. You've got terrific views of the valleys on one side, look out across the water on the other side, and straight ahead the path just goes all the way to the summit. And sometimes that's really satisfying, especially when you've got a tired body and aching legs.
It's possible to find quiet anywhere in the lakes, even on a fell as popular as this, and so close to the busy town of Keswick.
This is the valley that houses Littletown, which, as Frank told us, is where Miss Tiggywinkle lives. Beatrix Potter, rabbits, that kind of thing.
The profile of Catbells even featured as an illustration in one of Beatrix Potter's children's books. But with the summit back in sight, I'm almost at the end, and it's the final push to reach the top. The summit cone is reached by a final rocky stairway, which is heavily eroded where walkers have sought out easier routes up. almost mirroring the internal scars of this old industrial landscape.
As you get closer to the top, you begin to understand what Wainwright meant when he said it isn't as innocuous as it first looks. Oh, last scramble to the top.
Catbells is so appealing and offers so much that its reputation predates even AW. He was powerless to make much of an impact here, simply because this fell's popularity was already well established.
Hey, hey. Wow, the summit's not what you expect at all. I thought it'd be grassy, and it's all rugged rock underfoot. And it's small. I think this is the smallest summit I've been on. Small summit, big views.
The summit, which has no cairn, is a small platform of naked rock, light brown in colour and seamed and pitted with many tiny hollows and crevices that collect and hold rainwater, so that long after the skies have cleared, glittering diamonds adorn the crown. Almost all of the native vegetation has been scoured away by the varied footgear of countless visitors. That often it is difficult to find a vacant perch. In the summer, it is not a place to seek quietness.
It's a very different sense of achievement from conquering one of the big Lakeland fells. I mean, you can get to the top of Catbells in under an hour, or it can be the pinnacle of a grand family day out. Either way, when you are here, you get the full flavour of the Lake District, for young and old.
The joy of Catbells is in its accessibility, a simple fell that offers it all. Lake, town, nearby fells, impressive views with distant panoramas, a great walk, and an occasional scramble.
Catbells has been a favourite in Keswick since the dawn of fell walking, and today it's easy to see why. So now I'm going to head down in the sunshine, the perfect ending to what Wainwright called a truly lovely walk.